Well, to help us make sense of all that, we can bring in Brian Smith, Professor of Political Science at St. Edward's University. Thank you so much for joining us here on France 24. First of all, for the viewers that may not be familiar with the Electoral College system, help us understand how it works and why it determines the presidency.
Well, first, thank you for having me. But the Electoral College is a vestige of the original Constitution. We've never gotten rid of it. What it does is it enables the states to select the president and not the actual people. And the Electoral College, right now, we have 538 electoral votes spread across the states. You need 270 to win. And most states use winner take all. So the candidate that's able to gather 270 electoral votes from the states is going to be the next president.
Obviously on the swing states, but why are these battleground states so crucial, and which states are you keeping an eye on?
The battleground states are so crucial because of that winner take all aspect. You win a state like Pennsylvania or Georgia by a single vote, then you get all the electoral votes from that state. There's no proportional representation, there's no second round. So the key states are the ones that former President Trump and Vice President Harris are going to: Michigan, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia, and if you have time, you go out to Arizona.
And will it all come down to turnout, in your opinion?
It is definitely about turnout because you just need to win that state by a single vote. We're seeing the Democrats trying to get George W. Bush to come back out and endorse uh, Vice President Harris. They hated him 12 years ago. They're just trying to maximize their vote. And the Republicans are doing the same, trying to find that last single voter. And for this reason, if the race is as close as we think, we'll wake up on Wednesday not knowing who's the president.
And are there any trends that stand out in this cycle versus the previous election?
Well, when we look at it, it is almost identical as 2016 and 2020 regarding the states that matter most. We haven't seen a lot of change. We haven't seen a lot of shift. So those states that really tipped the election for 2016 and then again in 2020 for Joe Biden, those are the ones at play. The candidates know the states and they know, don't go to California now. Spend your time in places like Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and the Michigan suburbs.
And now this election is not just a race for the White House, but also for the House and the Senate as well, isn't it?
It is, because whomever becomes president doesn't have a blank check. We know the House and Senate are extremely close. And if you get a Democratic president and Republican Congress, it's going to stop any legislation. Similarly, if it's flipped around. So the local elections, your House races, your Senate races are just as important, especially if your presidential candidate loses.
And lastly, what are you keeping an eye on in this election?
I'm keeping an eye on the polls. The polls could be one of three things. One, they underestimate Trump. They've done that before. Two, they overestimate Trump. That happened in 2022. Or three, they're as close as they say. And if the polls are as close as they say, there's going to be a lot of lawsuits. It's going to be a real long Tuesday night and well into several days afterwards.
It's going to be a long Tuesday night indeed. Thank you so much, Brian Smith from St. Edward's University. We appreciate your time in speaking to us.
Thank you for having me.